Looking at the triple Qs, as is usually the case this time of day. So I can tell you that what I see going on is some nice range-bound trading that has a nice travel range as we are looking at it right now. You can see this morning we had this nice move higher, followed by this move lower, followed by this move higher. Very geometric. That's a 50% fib retracement. That's just what we're looking for. And right now, we see that we're coming back up into sort of this higher range that we were in this morning. That is 293.64 up to 294.09. And that's on the heels of lots and lots of nice opportunities in terms of inflections right where we expect them. So we had these moves that allowed us to have these pickup going from range line to range line. It's also very nicely lined up with all of our volume by price data. So you can see these are really stacked up very nicely today. We can anticipate what's going to happen when it gets into any one of these travel ranges. So that makes life a little bit easier. And again, the key to this is just waiting for more than one inflection to occur in a price range. So when price comes and makes this move higher, we're not going to participate in that, but when it comes back down and hits this anchor line down here, we've got all these anchored VWAPs, we have this nice support and resistance level, that indicates that's a good place to go long, and this is a good place to target. So when it happens, it happens. When it doesn't, it pops you back out again on a violation of a prior swing low. And then once again, when we get down to these areas that were significant support and resistance earlier, it makes for a nice opportunity to catch that inflection and then grab the move higher and possibly grab the extension. So as we get into this higher travel range, I think the thing to watch for here is going to be whether or not price catches an inflection at 293.64. If we grab it right here, then we are only going to look for a move up to 294.09. And the nicer thing, of course, would be if we move back down into one of these lower ranges, because then we have the opportunity to try to catch the move up into this 294.09 level, which is a $2 move on this index. The other thing to watch is the overbought, oversold indication. So as we are now up into greater than 70 on this thing, that's indicative of a top. And if you look at the rest of the morning, you can see that the tops overlap really nicely with the swing points that we get, and that also these really low dips then are the things that have led to the moves to the upside. So we get the dip, and then we get this nice move higher. It's running right into this 2SD level, which happens to be tracking right at the daily VWAP or the intraday VWAP for the session. And it's just been trading very, very geometrically. So what do I think is going to happen going forward? We could very well see that we get up above here. If we do, I'm going to look for this repeat of this move. So if we get up into 295.57, I'll have a resting order there to go short, and I'm going to try to catch a move lower. First place that I'm going to look on the way down is not down 364, or if we're looking for the move down to 292.79, if this remains the primary volume by price threshold for the day, then I'm going to be looking to pull the plug on it right there at the first sign of hesitation. All right, so that is the strategy here for the afternoon. If any of that sounds Greek to you, review the volatility band coarsely. If you're looking at this, it's just a matter of we want to see where do a lot of things line up over the course of the session. So these guys, right, or all that stuff in this volume by price data out here, 2SD extensions, and the intraday volume weighted average price. So overall, we've got a lot of things that are confluent today, a lot of things that are lining up and making sense. And I think that when we get this reversal move lower as it's happening, first thing to do is going to be watch right here. Second thing is going to be watch this area down here. And remember that it might only be elastic into the sort of the lower range, that we drew a little bit earlier here. All right, so that's a strategy. That's a game plan going into the rest of the day. Just going to play these ranges, and you're going to have to take several pokes at them sometimes to get them to work. but hopefully this will clear things up a little bit for you. So I hope that helps. Thanks. Hey guys, I'm checking back in, and I want to point to what's been going on over the course of the day and the fact that I just had a conversation with, actually, I've had a conversation with a couple of people who are having a real hard time with the notion of waiting for price to come back and then taking an entry when price is down or is moving down to the long side, right? So you're taking an entry on a long trade. I mean, it feels like you're catching a falling knife, but you're really not. So the last video that we did, the one from this morning, was right around the 1300 mark. So about 1 o'clock on the market's time, we said if price came back down to 292.99 from above, or if it came down to our sort of our threshold levels over the course of the session, those are the places that I would be looking to go long, in keeping with what the trend was at the time. Actually, the trend at the time was just started reversing and heading higher. And the logic behind this is that when it comes back down into one of these threshold levels, we have all this confluence of indication. We have a lot of things that are telling us that something might happen at one of these lines. And we've got the anchored VWAPs there. We have the volume of price data that we're looking at. We have the 2 standard deviation of volatility bands, or you can use Bollinger Bands and just use like a 9-period look back on it, or just adjust a little bit so it's a little bit more adaptive to the volatility in the market. But each time the price came down, you had an opportunity to go long in the triple Qs. So when we waited for it to come to 292.99 from above, just like we were talking about in the video, it gave us an entry that got us out to 292.64. So you had a 65-cent per share traded kind of an event there, and then you had a move up into the next range. And when we got into the next trading range and above, well, we got to this point that we had talked about earlier in the video, and then came back down again. If we're focused on getting back down into this region with this anchored VWAP and this 293.64 level that we've been watching, then it was a very clear trade. There was no support and resistance. Really, this level up here, this 294.09 level, was too elastic at this point. So you wait for it to come back down, 293.64. We know that at that level, we've got about 15 or 20 cents max of price elasticity, right? So in this area right here is where we would draw our stop loss. Once it came back down again, now we've got to move up, and the move into 294.09 is a very viable place to take an exit, or based on the fact that this just happened, you can look for the move from 293.64 back up to 292.62. You book just about $1 per share traded in profits on that move. Then this is all just a matter of watching and trying to time the major inflections. Where are the major inflections? So, right, in my eye, or in my mind, I should say, I'm seeing things happening mostly around this line right here today and around this line right here. So those are the two places that I'm focusing most of my attention, most of my energy, and I'm also looking, of course, at the confluence with the different indications that we have over the course of the session of where the price inflection is going to be. Again, we're always looking for the trend. Trend is our friend. And once we see that this is in place, this move from the about noon hour in New York as it started progressing higher gave us every indication in the world that what we should expect are inflections, that we're going to take price higher after we achieve a new high that pulls back and gives us a threshold level entry trigger. So every time we get back to one of these threshold levels, it's our indication that the next move is going to be back up into the range pursuant to the information that we talked about in the earlier video. I hope that all helps. I hope you had a good trading day today and an even better one on deck for tomorrow. I'll talk to you then.